Now we have finished the modeling of all these 4 components. So now we are moving on to the assembling of these 4 components to make a wheel assembly. Okay, go for new assembly, make it as wheel and say OK. And now go with retrieving the first component, the base plate, and just make that as default so that it gets assembled and say done. Okay, so the first base component has been assembled at the default location. So now call the second component, which is a bracket. So assemble the bracket here as well as here so that it gets assembled. Going with insert and going with new constraint. This face and this face has to mate with respect to each other, and select the other constraint. Select this insert and this insert so that it gets assembled perfectly and say done. Okay, so this is the second component assembled, and the same way again call the bracket, and this bracket needs to be assembled at this particular location. So going with insert and select this cylindrical surface and this cylindrical surface and this top planar surface and this bottom planar surface of this bracket to meet with respect to each other. So this brackets has been assembled and say done. So these 2 brackets has been assembled, and now going with call the wheel part and assemble it at this particular location. Say insert and just say align and align with respect to this and say mate, so that this component will be assembled at this particular center. Okay, say done. And now call the axial component to fit into this particular location. Say insert into this and select this center datum plane and the center datum plane this to align with respect to each other and say 0, so that it gets assembled at this particular location and say done. Okay, so this way the components can be assembled. And if you want to see the cross section of this, just go with view manager and go with X section, press enter and say cross section A and say enter. Say go with model planar, say done, and select this assembly front datum plane and just double click on this so that you can see all the components assembled and the cross sections of that particular components. So this way this assembly can be assembly cross section, and all the parts can be cross sectioned. Okay, if I select no cross section, so the complete assembly will be created. Close this, and this finishes our assembly session.